okay. And so I just began to pour. For some reason, I just felt comfortable just telling her what was going on. And I'll never forget her. She said, I'm going to help you because God told me to help you. And she says, I'm going to reach out to you tomorrow. She says, I'm going to get with my church and my pastor and my members, is what she said. And we're gonna help you. And so I said, okay. Now, again, mind you, she's a stranger. I don't know her. She doesn't really know me. We've never met. We don't even know what each other looks like except for pictures on Facebook. And she says, I'll reach out tomorrow. Now, I said, okay, but I hoped that she would because I really needed the help. But at the same time, I wasn't expecting. I didn't put my hopes on it because I did. She was a stranger. Like, what reason would she have to do that for me? And so the next day, sure enough, she reaches out. She asks for the information for the hotel because she was going to pay it with the card. And the front office, when I spoke with them, was like, you can't pay unless you're there. But show you how God's favor is, even in the desert. The manager from the front office, because we had been there a couple of weeks and she had gotten to know us through being there, because when I would go up there to pay her, we would talk, because it's a motel. It's like a night's in motel, so it's not big. You know what I'm saying? It's like a Super 8 almost. And so you get to know people when you're there over time. And because we didn't cause problems, because we were quiet, because we were friendly and we talked, people were nice to us. People, like, they're not troublemakers. And so because of that, she said that she would make an exemption if the person that was on the phone that was going to pay it for the room for me would send over a copy of their driver's license via email and the picture, so that they could see them the card, so that way they know that it was them and it was their card. And sure enough, they took care of that, and she paid for our rooms. And not only did she pay for our rooms, but she turned around the very next day and she said that after she paid for the room, she said she called and she said it was taken care of. She sent me a copy of the receipt, and she prayed with me again, and she said that God continue on the journey that I was on, that God was going to always provide. And she said, I'm going to get with my members and we're going to send you some money for food. And I remember thinking, like, what? Wow, a total stranger. People that I had done for, taken care of, sent money to, couldn't help me. But a total stranger. God sent a total stranger. Total stranger. And still to this day, I've never met the lady. I follow her on Facebook still, but I've never met her face to face. And she did that for us. And the next day, sure enough, she sent the money for us for food. Now, moving forward, I basically, in that stage, again, God's showing me myself. Um, he's still taking care of us, though, even in the wilderness, even in the dark. He's providing, even if it doesn't look like what we feel we want it to look like, what it should look like, what we want it to look like. He's still providing. And so I never forget. God, one morning I woke up, and my fiance had gone to work because he's working and he's being paid every week. But what he's being paid between phone bills, food, checks are not lasting. They're just paying for $300 and some dollars a room for a week for 2 rooms. It was costly. And so I remember God saying that you need to let him go. And I'll never forget it because I was like, well, he's the one working. What do you mean? I'm not working right now. If I let him go, who's going to help? It's going to be worse. And I remember him saying, you guys need to be apart because there's things that you guys need to work on separately. And you can't do it together. And I remember him saying, just because I say not now doesn't mean not ever. And so now, mind you, I done lost my mom. I'm talking about this is all in the same year. I'm not talking about years later. This right here, I'm telling, is up until this point is all in the same year in a matter of months. Now I done lost my mom. 2 weeks later, lost my nephew. I done lost my job. After we get into this motel, lost my home, lost all my material things, and now he's telling me that I need to separate from my fiance, my daughter's dad. And so I'm like, oh my God, like, are we serious right now? So I'm like, I'm in a place where it's like one hit after another, right after another, right after another. And so I'm sitting in the room, and now, mind you, he had told me this, but days went by. I just was not trying to talk about it. And now, mind you, me and my relationship with my daughter's dad was already rocky after everything else we had just went through. It was not on a good foundation at that time. You know, it was some cracks in it, and so things was taking a toll. And so when God told me that we needed to separate because there was things that we needed to do and that we couldn't do together, that we needed to do separately, work on ourselves. And so I'm fighting it because personally, I'm more or less thinking about the fact of our stability. We barely making it as it is. So to take his income completely out the equation, like, oh my God. And so I'll never forget that night. The prophet had a Bible study, and I was in it. And she happened to be that night talking about people and seasons and knowing when to let go and not holding on past your season. And so I'm sitting there going through this, and she's preaching about this that night, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'll never forget it. That night God took me to the story in the Bible, and it's the story, and it's crazy. And I'm trying to piece it all together. And I'm sitting there saying, okay, so he done told me that we need to separate. Then here we go. She's preaching about letting go and letting people go outside of seasons. And, if they're meant to come back, they'll come back. And I'm sitting here, and now God is telling me about a Bible